Hey, I figured that you would have... Sorry, I was talking to Tom and sort of explaining it. Yeah, like for instance, the sticky part of this is like here when I'm running from this Mac, all of my cameras, I can just easily go like, oh, let's check out that web page. And then I can just like, boom, and then the web page will pop right up like that. See, right now, because I'll be splitting all of that video shit between different cameras, it's not going to work like that. So, but eventually I'll get it all worked out. We'll get a workflow. I think I'm going to have to split these Stream Decks. I think one Stream Deck's going to stay PC. One Stream Deck's going to become like a utility Stream Deck for me to use. And, yeah. I don't know. We'll figure it out. But welcome, everybody. Glad to see you. Let me give some love to everybody. First in was Big Doug, Tracy, SJ, Riki, Norm, Shelly, hello. Happily retired. Tracy, welcome again. Captain Pizza Pants, EJ, Robert. Thank you for helping, Robert. You're so sweet. Keita, Jax is in there. Jax, I haven't seen you in a minute. Duncan, Duncan's having a great day in Brooklyn.
Cool. Well, thank you.
Shred Bear, Kendall Hill, Ghost of a New Bull. Norm again because Go Magic. But I think that's most. I think I got most everybody. And Nightbot. What light is he on?
1.
Line 1. Hey, Alan, can you hear us okay?
Yes, I can.
Awesome. Hey, man, very good to talk to you. Haven't heard you in a minute, but we really appreciate you doing this, man. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no worries.
We're going to do a little weird stuff in the beginning because we always play like a new theme song for Weird Job Wednesday, so it gets a little standard silly radio, and then we'll pull you up, and then it'll be easy breezy, okay?
Sounds good.
Awesome,
Cool.
man. Hold on one second. All right. Would you like to start, Mr. Van?
Sure.
Here we go. And 3, 2.
Welcome to A Corporate Time with Tom and Dan. I'm Tom.
I am Dan. We are live on Twitch and YouTube. Come check us out. Just search for @TomandDan Live. Tons of videos on there. We stream every single day. If you miss a show, it's all there. Thousands of hours of content you don't need, and it's all there.
A couple things from our sponsors. The History Center is starting their new exhibit, The Collected.
Sounds kind of spooky like that, right? Collected. It's the Collected.
Which is a bunch of different things that local, I guess, Central Floridian.
Yeah, Floridians, luminaries,
yeah.
People of interest, who's.
Pick some things, including me and Daniel, for this exhibit, and that starts April 12th.
Yes.
And also the Science Center is doing the Science of Wine on April 26th. You can get your tickets right on their website.
Talk to Jeff after this whole beer fest thing. Seems like Jeff's leaning into next we're going to be doing the science of medical marijuana. Oh, look at that. The science of mushrooms. All right. The science of fun. But yeah, check out all of those events because they're really, really good. I want to give you a choice today for Weird Job Wednesday because I know you're big on doing like new themes and stuff like that. I did get one from a listener. And
really?
And he used AI.
Oh, okay. Now the listeners are using AI.
And this is why they shouldn't.
Okay, all right.
Okay?
All right.
Because I'm just going to show you the difference between one that's written, I'm using air quotes, one that's produced by a listener just by saying, hey, write a song for Weird Job Wednesday for Tom and Dan. Here's some things about Tom and Dan. This is what you get, and this is why this is not good. It's not good. Intro's too long. First of all, intro's too long.
Gig on a midweek day. Tom hates fat slobs. That's his play.
Tom does not hate fat slobs. That's not his play. That doesn't even make any sense. Job on a Wednesday.
I like a synth pop.
I do like this. It's called like what do they call the synth wave? I believe that's known as synth wave.
Right.
But these lyrics are just abysmal.
Dan tired of Tom's crap all along. Missing Sam, it all feels wrong.
I mean, we have to do it. It doesn't feel
Hold on,
wrong.
is this
No.
AI or is this something? Did he do it himself?
No, this is AI.
Oh, okay.
This is all. Everything is AI now, man. Everything is AI.
But the voice sounds like he did it himself.
That's what old men say about AI. This is what old people say about AI. They sound like a real human. You want a little more?
All right.
Or do you want me to
Yeah,
cleanse
yeah.
your palate with a good song?
Yeah, let me hear a little more.
A
of this
little
guy,
more.
yeah.
All right, a little more.
Telephone ringing, chaos free. Piled up papers, can't break free. Clear out lockers, clean up time.
We've never cleaned up here. Not even one time.
Then why did you just put the lyrics of Weird Job Wednesday in there? It seems so much
Because
easier.
people, you have to write the lyrics. Here, let me cleanse your palate
All right.
with a real song.
Right.
Because if you're going to use AI to write a song, you can't use their lyrics. You have to write your own lyrics. And I like surprising Tom with funny songs. And this one's a bit of a, I call this one a jezelneck. Might be a little of a, at the end, takes you on a little turn.
You big, disgusting, gross tub of shit. I hired you to do a job, but on your ass you sit. So pack your things in this little box. It's time for you to go. I never thought I'd fire my wife from the Tom and Dan radio show.
See what I did there? See what I did there? I called my wife a fat, disgusting tub of crap. And I said I fired her from the show. How crazy is that?
That is crazy.
That's pretty crazy, right?
Yeah. I feel like these songs get more and more embarrassing in
Yes.
front of our guests.
Yes.
Where they're like, what does this have to do with anything?
Nothing. It's just a. I feel at this
nothing.
point, it's like one of those games you play at a retreat as an icebreaker to kind of like, okay, now that our guard's down, let's get to work.
Okay, all right, yeah. We shocked you and confused you.
Yeah, shock and awe.
Yeah.
Toby Keith. Toby Keith. Toby Keith.
All right, on the line with us, this is another weird job from my phone.
This is
as I scroll through.
I'm going to go one further. This is an Orlando, and this is not a mock, this is real stuff. This is an Orlando sport legend.
Yes.
This is someone that we worked with hundreds of hours put in,
Yeah,
and this
yeah.
man was underappreciated. I said it. I'll say it again. This man was underappreciated for what he did for that franchise. I'll say it from the mountain.
Here's another fact. This man married me
Yes.
18 years ago.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did.
18 years ago.
Yes.
We were around in March,
And you know
actually.
what? Some people may not have appreciated
Like a
how
month
hard
ago.
he worked, but I'll tell you
Yeah.
one thing. Dan Dennis and Drunky the Bear appreciated him.
We've got Alan on the line. You may know him as Klaw from the Orlando Predators. How you doing, Alan?
Yeah, you doing great. How you doing, guys?
Man, it's really good to talk to you. And you know what? I remember the first time Tom introduced me to you and the idea of a man that made his own costume.
Mascot,
Like
yeah.
you made your own mascot costume, and it was a high quality, badass, like it's an iconic, in Orlando history, it is an iconic piece of our history. In fact, we were just talking about the Orlando history collected. Like, you know,
at the History Center, yeah.
I'm thinking Klaw mask should be in there, dude. And I'm
Yeah,
thinking
yeah.
I might have to talk to Scotty today and talk to Klaw and see if we can connect the dots.
So, Alan, how are you doing?
Doing great, actually. You mentioned the history thing. A few years ago, we actually displayed one of my chess pieces from my costume of the History Center.
Oh, that's
really?
awesome, man. Really, really cool.
So,
yeah, it was a lot of fun.
So, Alan, we'll get into like making mascot costumes in a minute, but I want to talk to you about the Orlando Predators because I don't know the background of how you became I guess it wasn't. I always looked at it as the official mascot, but I remember Brett Bushy being mad because he's like, Alan owns the rights to Klaw. And he's like, and he was so mad about it. And he was like, I want to get a new one, but the fans love Klaw too much.
Klaw. It's the motorcycle. Hey, when you came out on the motorcycle, Alan, you sealed the deal for me, man. I was like, this is my mascot.
So how'd you even start doing that?
Well, it happened long before Bushy got there, obviously.
Yeah.
In the fall of 93. A couple of my buddies who I was training with a stunt team, because I wanted to do more film work, and that's where I originally started heading that direction. And what ended up happening was there was a rappel team, and in the off season it split into two, and basically I was with this one group. The other group didn't have a mascot. They didn't have a guy like me. So we went in and gave them a proposal. And at first they couldn't find a sponsor to pay for the suit, which a lot of times sports organizations will do, to circumvent the costs a little bit. But what ends up happening is they couldn't afford me. They said they couldn't afford me. And I said, well, okay, fine. I like the idea. My brother was a season ticket holder the year before, and I hadn't even really gotten into arena football because I was a film, guy, mascot builder, all this other thing. And I thought, this could be a really cool social experiment, to climb into this costume that I'm going to create. And so what I did was I said, look, I'm going to bring you a mascot, and we'll show it, to the fans. The fans like it. You pay me, per game, and if they don't, I walk. You haven't lost anything. So ultimately what ends up happening is it became a huge hit right from the get-go. And by then, the horse was already out of the barn. So I owned it, and, that's just the way it's been all this time.
Also, Tom and I really love when, the stars align. And what I mean by that is you're at a time when arena football, I think people were thirsty for it. We really wanted it.
Oh, in the 90s, it was at the height.
And we were the luckiest city, I believe, because I don't think there was a team. There were some good ones, but, man, the Predators were kind of the team. And the way that we partied and everything around that time, but also the movie Predator was so friggin' popular. In my house, my dad, we've watched that movie 100 times. That had to have played into the popularity of the mascot. People were like, oh, my God, this is amazing. Because you never had, a big movie, scary kind of a creature used as a mascot. At least I didn't remember.
Yeah. It's always kid-friendly.
Yeah, this was a newer thing. Normally you get, we're the Greyhounds, and I'm Buckeye Bruce. No. This was a flesh-eating alien.
Yeah.
That's pretty
neat. I was
neat.
not cute and fuzzy, that's for sure. But what I was doing was, after seeing one of the playoff games in 93, I'm like, if I'm going to build this mascot, it's got to protect me first from the fans. So, because the fans were so rowdy, it was such a cool game to watch.
Did it feel good for you?
Yeah. Back then in the 90s, I mean, they were flashing. It was a party.
Yeah. But the other thing that was crazy?
Klaw's seen some Tease.
Oh, Klaw has put his...
I signed more boobs than Howard Stern ever dreamt of.
I know you did. And you know what? It's no exaggeration. People would just line up to get their photo made with Klaw and pull their tees out.
Yeah.
It was just a different time.
Yeah.
And another thing that's interesting
God, I love the 90s.
About Klaw is that, did you always have the motorcycle part of the gimmick?
Well, I've been riding motorcycles since the 70s. I was a teenager in the 70s.
Sure.
And I've ridden motorcycles forever. We did stuff on motorcycles that some stuntmen thought we were crazy doing back then. And I combined my love of motorcycles. I was a monster kid growing up, and if you know what a monster kid is, we love Frankenstein, Wolfman, Dracula, Creature, all monsters, and especially the classics. And that was part of my motivation. The trigger that actually made all of this start was I was a caricature artist out at the theme parks, and when I moved here in '73, and of course '77 rolls around, and Star Wars hits.
Oh,
and
wow.
Star Wars hits, it's like a lightning bolt for me. I'm sitting in the movie theater literally the whole summer constantly watching it over and over and over. The thing that got me the most was the cantina bar scene. And I saw all those aliens, and I'm like, man, I'd love to make that stuff.
Yeah.
And so that's really the trigger that got me started trying to learn it. Because back then, you didn't have YouTube, you didn't have tutorials, you didn't have books on it. There was nothing here. We were a vast wasteland when it came to that kind of film work. It just wasn't here because we didn't have film work here. So my first film, actually where I employed some of the techniques I was learning, was on a film called Alien Dead, of all things. It was shot here in Orlando, and it starred an old guy, old school movie star by the name of Buster Crabbe. I don't know if you remember him or even heard of Buster Crabbe, but he was
always a punchline for a joke, Alan. I'm just going to be honest with you. Old Buster Crabbe, I was like, hardly knew her.
I'm Buster Crabbe.
In fact, I have a feeling Tom's going to start dressing me as Buster Crabbe, and you're going to have to make a crab outfit for me.
That's the best old-timey actor name I've ever heard.
It was great. Now, what had happened?
Here's a little picture from Alien Dead. I've got it up on our screen here. 1980. It was a horror movie, a Horror and Sons. You can find it. There's a sheriff standing next to his deputy in what appears to be the Florida swamp. There he is.
And is he standing there? Are they wrestling with a zombie?
Not yet. There's
Okay.
yeah. Okay, there is some there. Okay.
We see the zombie faces.
Yeah, here we go. I got some zombie faces.
Yeah, I did all the zombie faces, and I played a zombie in the film.
Well, I've got you up on camera right now. I've got a giant, disgusting zombie face up on the screen. That's crazy, man.
And so, Alan, is that how it started with like makeup and effects?
Yeah, I was actually I was doing caricatures out at Circus World.
Whoa.
And so I was driving back and forth. I lived in Pine Hills at the time, and so after I saw the movie, I started fishing around trying to find materials to learn how to do this. So basically, I taught myself how to make prosthetics and how to make Halloween masks and creatures and things. But after a while, my wife looks at this wall full of stuff, and she goes, we got to figure out a way to sell this stuff because we can't eat rubber. So I started marketing the stuff through a wholesale guide. But in the meantime, in like 79, 80, I teamed up with a guy here that had a costume shop, and he was looking for something to do in the off seasons because Christmas, Easter, and Halloween were the only things for him being a costume shop.
Yeah.
So we came up with the idea of designing a line of masks, and we did those for a while, and then we jumped onto the Mascot bandwagon. Back then, there wasn't a whole lot going on. The most famous mascot was the San Diego Chicken, Ted Giannoulis, and he was the guy. Everybody looked at him for the whole mascot thing at the time. And so I started building mascots through there. But in between all of that, I was doing films and commercials. There was a film shot in Orlando called Daryl. It's about a little kid with a computer brain. I
know that guy. I work with him right now. Yeah, and it's terrible. If this guy had an ounce of empathy, it'd be. Not joking.
But that's kind of how I was doing it. I'd go to work, make mascots. I'd come back home, my home studio, and I'd be working, on different things. And even before the Klaw thing happened, I worked on the TV show The Adventures of Superboy.
What?
Out at Universal. Yeah, I was building kryptonite, exploding bodies.
That's neat, man. Alan, we wanted to talk to you. Obviously, you've been a white whale for a minute, and we're talking to you about costume building. But knowing that you had all these other jobs, it sounds like costume building may have been the passion, and all these other jobs were, building kryptonite for a Superboy show is pretty cool.
Well, that was the thing. I was really wanting to stay in that world, but I needed a real job. So gotcha. I made my own job, basically, by going and getting together with this guy and say, hey, let's make some mascots. So that's what we were doing there. And in 82, I was doing Daryl. In 84, I was an instructor at Ringling Brothers Clown College. down in Sarasota briefly. I taught the clowns how to custom make their own noses. And then I was back up here working with a company called Creative Engineering. You've heard that
Wait,
name, haven't you?
that's Alan Fector, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
I was briefly there. And some of my design techniques, actually, they incorporated eventually.
That would have been Showbiz Pizza, your animatronics, your Rocket Fire Explosion, that sort of stuff.
I actually predated Rocket Fire Explosion. We had a bear band called the Bear Country Jubilee.
Oh, okay. Very similar, but not quite. I like that. Yeah.
I like it. We're calling it a jamboree.
We're calling it a jubilee.
And we'll steal it.
That is awesome.
So, yeah, I was still doing that. That's when I was starting to learn the mask thing. And then in 79, like I said, I mentioned Buster Crabbe. What happened there was the guy directing that worked for Channel 6. And the mask, he had this zombie mask that had gotten stolen. Somebody broke into his house and stole this thing. Now, it sounded to me like a publicity stunt, quite honestly, but here it was. It was in the newspaper. And when they mentioned Buster Crabbe, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to contact this guy and see if I can, help him out with his movie. And that way I get my foot in the door.
There you go.
Well, there is a little subtext to that. Buster Crabbe was a distant cousin of mine.
And Tom was saying terrible things about Buster not even 5 minutes ago.
Hold on,
making
Alan.
horrible jokes about him.
So Buster Crabbe was a distant cousin. You had no idea?
No, I grew up all my life. My grandfather had told me about Buster ever since I was a little kid. So here was an opportunity
You're
to
a
meet
crab.
this famous dude. I mean, he was a Buck Rogers. He was Flash Gordon. He was Tarzan. He was an Olympic gold medalist swimmer. That guy was amazing. And, to get to work with my first film, I get to work with Buster Crabbe. I thought it was cool. So, I was kind of fanboying out, to be honest with you.
Tom, you're kind of a Buster Crabbe. Have you ever seen Buster Crabbe? You're very Buster Crabbe.
Well, it's interesting.
Look at that. You have the body of a young, but you look like Buster. My business partner looks like Buster Crabbe.
It's interesting that he's.
Oh my God! You look exactly. I'm gonna start calling you Buster Crabbe.
Olympic gold medalist swimmer. And then he ends up getting into acting, and then he's playing Tarzan and all these other...
That happened a lot. What was it? Johnny Weissmuscle?
Weissmuller, yeah.
Weissmuller, yeah. That guy was... all your muscle men would go on to be actors because everyone else was too skinny. We hadn't reached our fat then. That wasn't... We weren't fat
before,
then.
Yeah. Like, if you had muscle, you were an anomaly. You're like, whoa, this guy, he's a Superman.
Like George Reeves from Superman, yeah.
Now, even one other film I worked on that predated the Predators was around between 89 and 91. I also worked on a film called Ace Ventura: Pet Detective.
Yes. And Alan, that's what I remember when we used to talk in the Predators days. Alan told me, he's like, hey,
Did you build the rhino anus?
No.
I wish I had gotten that gig. I got the first film where he beat up the eagle at the end of the film.
Oh, that's
mine.
Yeah.
You made the eagle?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I remember when he told me that, I was like, Alan, that is my...
That's peak Miami history.
I'm like, I used to watch Ace Ventura over and over in my mom's Scooby-Doo van on VHS tape. She had a... conversion van, a big white conversion van.
And you got the Zenith in the top.
Yeah, the Zenith. And he said, watch Ace Ventura as a teen boy.
It's a top loader.
And then he fighting the eagle, and he did the uppercut. And I was like, and then Alan told me, he's like, I made that eagle. I'm like, what? And blew my mind.
I also want to pause the show for a second and say that the chat room is yelling at us for not having Alan on sooner because this guy's got so many stories. And the chat room's like, oh, great job. You waited until the 20th year of Weird Job to get Alan on.
I've had his telephone number for 30 years. And then it just dawned on me last week. I was like, we should start calling people on my cell phone.
That is true, Alan. He yells. He's like, do you think Klaw would do it? I was like, man, that'd be an awesome one.
All it took is one text, and Klaw's like, ready to go whenever you're ready.
Okay, let's jump back to when did you and your partner decide, or do you remember your first mascot? Because the idea of building something, they're very expensive, they're handmade. I mean, how do you go about making your first one, and how do you price it and sort of that sort of thing?
Well, that was really kind of a challenge, but as luck would have it, it was around Christmas time, and somebody was looking for an elf costume. And I know it doesn't really translate well into a mascot, but you had to know what the original Disney Seven Dwarfs looked like. The original costumes were these big heads with these little hands that were operated by sticks. So they made them look really short and small, but they were wide. And so we kind of built one of those types. And it was very rudimentary at the time because, once again, I was still learning about special effects makeup and all of that, and all the materials and tools needed to do that. So I started to apply some of my knowledge I was learning as I went into the mascot field. So, they all started with sculptures, made plaster molds, poured rubber in them to create the faces. And, it became far more technical than I even realized as I went on because everybody, you're trying to get that competitive edge on the next mascot builder. What's he got in his heads that we don't have?
Are you like Tom and I, where if a client comes to you and says, hey, can you do it? Do you just say yes without even knowing if you can do it or not?
No, actually, I turned down the Olympic Committee back in the 90s. They presented me with a design, and this thing was so bad that I just said, I'm sorry, I don't want to do this. And they're like...
the Olympics?
Yeah. And the reason I did, quite honestly, it was just a horrible design. It was the very first mascot ever designed by computer. And it was called, in the 90s, I don't know if you even recall this character, he was called What Is It? And that really
all
said
one
it all.
word, right? All one word?
What is it? Yeah, and short, Izzy for short.
Yeah, I remember this.
And everybody that saw it started calling it the Big Blue Sperm.
Yeah,
it was just a bad design. And they got very upset and indignant that I didn't like their design. And I'm like, if I'm going to build a mascot and it's going to be on the world stage, I want it to be something that is cool.
Yeah.
You know, I want people to look at it and remember it, and not for being laughable.
Right, right.
And made fun of. And I just couldn't bring myself to do it. But that was one of the big ones.
Well, hold on. Alan.
He's got integrity in his work, Tom. Unlike you'll just build anything. He'll build anything. He'll build any blue sperm.
I will say this, guys. I'm not beneath building a 7-foot giant penis for Halloween one year.
Okay, all right, that's fine. That's okay. That's what Tom wanted to hear.
But he knows. But you're right with the Olympics. Why not make the Olympic rings like ringy? Like it doesn't make any sense.
Somebody tried too hard. It's way too hard.
It was just a blue water droplet with eyes.
You know what it should be every year? A flame. There you go. Boom.
We're making a torch.
Every year it's a torch.
A giant torch.
Yeah, and then when it's from Spain, it's a Spanish torch. You know, North American torch.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, it's just a stupid idea that some marketing company came up with, and I'm sure the United States government paid them way too much money for.
$100K. How many mascots do you think you've made, Alan?
Oh my God. Well, I started in '79. You know, I mean, our shop was literally right across the street from the Winter Park sinkhole.
Yeah, I know exactly where
we were actually in that building working across the street when that thing started to go. And
swallowed up some of my mascots.
You remember when the Winter Park sinkhole happened?
Oh, yeah, I was there, dude.
And then did you run over there? You're like, whoa, what about?
Yeah, but he was dressed in a crazy costume. And they're like, what the hell's happening?
Actually, we kind of went out there and watched these exotic cars go into the hole.
You watched the cars?
That's what Spanish people do in Miami when the roads fall in, and they're so dangerous, but they'll stand on the edge because they're brave.
Well, it was kind of wild. They ended up shutting our street down for 3 months. It really hurt the business, but as far as tourism, man, it was bigger than Disney. People were coming from everywhere to see that giant hole. And it was when they were trying to crane some of those cars out. There was this one particular guy just wanted to leave his Porsche in there. And as what we ended up hearing was it was a mule car, and it apparently had some substances in it.
Hold on, there's a Porsche with cocaine in the back of the trunk.
We gotta get that.
It's still there. I can dive that.
Yeah, it could have just been lewds. There's a whole bunch of lewds.
Oh, it was crazy. It was a very unusual time while we were building this stuff, which kind of forced us to move out into a warehouse off of Forsyth Road, and that's where I continued all the building of the Mascot stuff.
So
and,
Alan, I'm curious to who started the tradition where, because it seems like all mascots have a certain look, which they start with a giant head, and then the body is kind of it's all about the head. And has that always been a tradition in team mascots?
Well, I tell you, there's, I think, personally, that it may have, the concepts may have erupted from something totally off the wall. And I've seen very, very, very old mascots that looked scary as heck. They looked more realistic than they did anything. But the mascots that we have now, that we know and love, all have this big head, like you said. But if you think about it, in the early, I would say 50s, I believe probably it started, was the development of bobbleheads in Major League Baseball. They had the bobbleheads, and they always had the small bodies with the big bobbly heads on them. That's probably where the concept and the idea came from.
I think he's right because, we can do a little more. We can put a little more clay on fleshing out this idea. Whenever you see the mascot races, traditionally in baseball, the mascots are big bobble heads, skinny body, and they always fall over. It's hilariously funny and been going on for hundreds of years. Also, there were certain parades that happened at, I'm talking old, where you would have, like dictators. Like they would make the ruler or the dictator of the time, and at a sort of a fun joke for his birthday or whatever, he'd have his head sculpted to be funny, but then it'd be a funny body, and then they'd be dancing through the streets, almost a celebration of the great leader.
Well, even caricatures, which Alan did, I always have a big exaggerated head.
Sure.
Is that kind of,
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely. And most of them back then were made out of paper mache.
Sure.
Because that was just the technology of the time. Nowadays, it's all kinds of high-tech materials. You can put fans in them. You can do all these things. I just finished a mascot for NASCAR just recently, just before the 500, and we talked about putting fans and stuff like that in them. So yeah. I mean, some of my mascots.
You can't fit any NASCAR fan in anything you build. I'm sorry.
Not the lower half.
Yeah, sorry. Just the head.
So, Al, I'm curious, people don't realize, how much a mascot costume costs. I remember.
This was my big thing. I don't think they think it's handmade. It's handmade.
Yeah. So, give us an idea of, what a high-end mascot costume would cost. Let's just say a professional sports team
Big
or
boy.
college team.
Yeah.
Or
FIFA comes in and says, hey, we need a soccer ball. What are you charging them?
Well, it's the going rate usually. And now, high schools and junior highs, I have to make an exception because they don't have the budget.
Yeah,
sure.
So I work around their budgets for them. But, they usually start at about $5,000, and then they go up from there. I've been involved in redesigning and developing a costume that was worth $250,000.
Wow!
So
Jesus, Alan.
Well, did it have a bunch of tech in it? Because I know, the Disney costumes, now they're incorporating where they could talk and their eyes can blink.
Moving mouth Mickey Mouse is so secretive that you very rarely see him, and he's been put out and pulled back so many times because of secret new developments and things that went wrong. Yeah, it's super secret tech.
Yeah, there's a lot of servos, remote controls, things like that involved. Sometimes there's special padding inside. This particular costume I was talking about was a gorilla, a Hollywood-style gorilla.
Whoa.
And, the fur alone was extremely expensive because it's built on spandex, and the body was specially padded. The mouth had servos. You actually looked through the gorilla's eyes, and the eyes had blinking mechanisms and the whole deal. Very complex, very difficult to wear, very uncomfortable. Mascots are not designed for that. You have to design it around some sort of, common technology that allows them to breathe, to see, and all of those things. Because, quite honestly, you can reach temperatures of like 130 degrees inside those things.
Yeah.
And even mine, when I was running around in Klaw, it would drip out from the bottom of the chin, but it wasn't sweat. It was actually condensation from the heat coming off of my head.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
It's hot as hell in there.
Well, there was a time when we went to Vegas for one of the arena bowls, and I was in the costume in Vegas from 8:30 in the morning till 6 that night, and it was 114 degrees that day.
God.
And it was brutal.
Oh, I bet.
Well,
You don't need to do that though. Just for it's arena football, Klaw, and I appreciate your dedication. But
I
at
was
the end
at
of the
that
day,
arena bowl.
Yeah, at the end of the day,
So Alan, let's talk about the Predators for a second, because as I look back,
are you both
it's
still owners now? You and Alan?
Well, I look back at the Bushy days and my involvement in the Predators, and a unique thing happened that I've never even seen happen, and I don't think will ever happen again.
It was a
because
McMillionaire's addiction to another man.
where the owner was crazy as late, and then because of this partnership with the radio station and me and him letting me do these halftime shows,
He knew he could get extra commercials by partnering up with you.
but also the absurdity of the S that I did
was
during
great.
those days,
It was
and the
great.
halftime shows, and the ridiculousness of involving. I
It was
mean,
awesome.
Alan would be involved sometimes, of course, like
I
when I
always
got
felt
married.
bad when you would ask Alan to do stuff. I always felt bad. Like, leave Alan
because he was
out
a
of it.
pro. I used to talk to
Yeah,
Alan. I'd be
such
like,
a
dude, I'm
serious,
sorry. This is
nice
ridiculous.
man.
But what are some of the more ridiculous things you remember being involved in? I remember that when we brought all the stormtroopers on the field and the football players are bullying them.
Yeah.
One of the players stole one of the stormtroopers' guns, and
Or ripped one of their necklaces off.
little people
Yeah.
had motorcycles. I mean, it was
Then
absurd.
we had a whippet, which is a tiny looking little Greyhound dog that was just crapping all over the field.
well, there was, Klaw rode a horse out once. I don't know if you ever saw that.
No.
But we were playing the Rattlers, and it was a Western theme. And what happened basically was, Klaw's on the horse, and they spent a whole week getting the horse used to gunfire because we were going to fire blanks out there on the field. And,
It was a different
so the horse-
time. It was a different time. Like, I just want to clarify that you could not go to a football game and the people are on the field shooting guns in the air. You can't do that.
It's pre-rust.
Oh, we did, though.
It was probably a real gun with a blank, right?
It was a real gun with a blank, correct?
Where's
now
the
there's
armorer?
It all led up to some weird things. Now, once again, the horse is acclimated to the gun. What they didn't acclimate the horse to was the fact that we were using dry ice fog. So the fog starts filling up the end zone, up about 2 feet high.
And the horse thinks it's in a cemetery.
He thinks it's a solid. He sees it as solid. So he starts spinning in the tunnel.
And you start
Trying to,
firing your gun. This is effing
Hold on.
awesome, dude.
So the horse is spinning around because it thinks it can't
Yeah.
get through the fog.
Oh, my God.
Right. So now it finally gets out onto the field, and Klaw fires up into the rafters. We had a CPR dummy dressed as one of the Western guys from the Rattlers and chucked it over the side. And when it fell, it hit the floor and busted into like 12 pieces. And people gasped.
Oh, that's fantastic. So you pretended to shoot someone off of a wild horse.
And he fell from the rafters all the way to the floor. It was something to see.
Alan, that is good. That's awesome.
See, this is something nobody will ever experience
No.
because now everybody's paranoid about lawsuits. Like,
Yeah.
it was the wild, speaking
It was the
of
Wild West.
we just did whatever we wanted.
Yeah.
Because, I remember talking to
I knew all the security guards at
Alan-
the old Amway. I just come and
Yeah.
go as I please.
Yeah. I was climbing up into the rafters, doing whatever I wanted. Like, hey, what can we do for the halftime show? Like, there's no one we had to check with. It was just like, oh yeah, go do whatever you want. It was crazy.
We drove tanks out there. We drove all kinds of crazy cars out on the field.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if you remember, we had a deal going, a sponsorship with Universal at one time. And we did a pregame. You know, Klaw was doing pregame videos all over the place. And we did one where we were at the Jaws ride in Universal. And I had the cheerleaders and some of the fan club members were in the boat with me. And, you know, I'm taking on Jaws. And then it cuts from the Jumbotron down to the floor. And Universal had a rolling radio station. And it was a 4x4 mechanical shark. It was cool.
I remember
and
that.
actually, yeah, I mean, I don't know where that thing is, but that was one of the coolest things I've ever been involved with, because you could, the side opened up and I just jump out, and I had the ball with me. One time I made it look like I was fishing, and I had a big pole and pulled him out. The thing is awesome because it rocked side to side, and it shot flames out of the exhaust, and it belched, which was crazy.
We got to find that, because I feel like that's something that the three of us could pool our money and buy for Orlando.
Well, think of it was a functioning radio station inside. So, I mean, that thing's so cool. I don't know where it is.
It might be
It's
the
gotta on
last
the back
functioning
wall.
radio station. Most of them are gone. I don't know if you know this, Alan.
I
Alan,
know.
well,
The chat room, by the way, I just want to give you some love. The chat room is loving you. Like,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
cannot
yeah.
believe that you've had like this much to do. And man, I feel bad that we waited this long to call him.
well, we need to talk to you again, Alan.
We got to get him in here. Maybe
I
he
know.
can bring in some of his art.
Yeah,
Because it is art, you know, like
yeah.
it's incredible. You built the monster. Didn't you build Jake for the monsters?
I built Jake, and
Yeah.
I built a little Jake for.
I remember
us,
that.
too.
You built little Jake as well.
Yeah,
yeah, he
yeah,
can.
yeah.
And by the way, if you need a mascot, this is a guy that can do it.
Yeah.
Now it's gonna cost you, but he can do it.
Are you still doing it, Alan?
Oh yeah. I mean, right now, I've got two clients that we're working up on at this time. So yeah, I mean, I'm still out doing stuff. I don't do the special effects stuff that much anymore because, quite honestly, there's just not a lot going on here. But back in, like I said, in that span in the 80s, what used to happen is we used to rent out our pyro licenses to rock groups. And basically what that was is when rock groups came into town, they didn't have time to go to the marshals and get permits and insurance and all those things. So they would hire us to oversee everything and use our permits. And
So it's like
that's how
buying a license, like if you rent your liquor license from like Will's Pub.
No, okay, yeah.
Right.
I didn't know you did
So-
that. That's neat.
so
I didn't know you could do that.
Yeah. So it put me in a position to go backstage on the Ultimate Sin tour with Ozzy Osbourne. So
That's pretty awesome. Yeah.
Did you get to talk to Ozzy? How was he?
he was interesting because he came back with his lead guitarist was Jakey Lee at the time.
Yep, Jakey Lee.
And they come walking back for the sound check, and we're rigging pyro and doing stuff. And prior to this, I knew I was going to be there. I knew I was going to get a chance, perhaps, to meet Ozzy. So I sculpted and designed a Freddy Krueger T-shirt that was 3D. In other words, it looked like Freddy was ripping right out of your chest. And it was all blood spattered and the whole thing. And I made sure he got that prior to me bumping into him. And so I walked up and I told him who I was. And he goes, "Oh, you're the bloke that did the show?" Yeah. So we're talking. I want to talk rock, you know?
Sure.
And he wants laundry tips on how to clean the friggin' shirt.
Yeah. That sounds like Ozzy. Yeah, he didn't want to talk about Bark of the Moon. He's done that for forever. I want to talk about how to keep this shirt rolling. I want to mess up the shirt that you made out of. That's incredible, man. Like,
I mean, those are the kind of things that we found ourselves doing. I mean, I also got Secret Service clearance to fire pyro around President Reagan at one time.
whoa.
And I played a bank robber in Unsolved Mysteries. And
Well, hold
I built
on, you're
the drug
burning all your
lab.
bits, man. Hold on, I got at least 20 more years of radio, Alan. Good God, man.
Well, we got stuff to talk about, guys.
We are
All
so
right.
boring.
Yeah, yeah,
My
yeah.
God, we're boring.
Well, Alan, we'll definitely have you in again
Yeah.
to talk to you, tell some stories. But before we go, I want to talk about March 21st, 2007, the day that Alan and Klaw married me and my wife. By the way, which I'm sure by when you were doing it that day, you're like, there's no way these rednecks are going to be still married in 18 years.
I feel like Klaw loves love. I feel like Klaw loves love.
But I want to let you know we're still married,
That's
Alan.
awesome. That
And-
is awesome.
I
And,
would say that a marriage built on goof is stronger. is stronger.
And every March 21st, we remember, because that's when we because Bushy made us legally get married. Because if you remember, what's his name? Oh, crazy.
Molested in Hollywood, Michael Jackson. Molested Hollywood, Michael Jackson. Fedora.
Why am I
Why can't I get it? Fedora, Michael Jackson, ponytail, dances like Michael Jackson, molestation, Corey Feldman.
Corey Feldman.
Yes!
Corey Feldman.
Was there, and he signed our marriage certificate, and some notary made it. Like Bushy is standing, he's like, you make him sign the certificate. I'm mailing it myself. Anyway, so we're legally married in Orange County from that day, and Klaw was out there, and he was overseeing
He was
everything.
the officiant.
And
Corey was the witness. And it holds strong.
It was ridiculous.
Yeah.
By
It was
the-
a
one
marriage
last thing.
forged in the fires of goof.
Klaw, did you ever have any altercation out of all those years of the arena bowl or all the arena games and stuff, like some drunk redneck?
Some redneck pulling your braids.
Yeah.
Well, if you noticed, Klaw didn't look. He just wasn't friendly looking, and that's one of the reasons why I chose, when I developed this character, I didn't ask for permission. I just talked. I talked to the fans in costume, which is usually a no-no for most people. But I swore to myself, I'm not going to frighten a child. So that's what I did. Now, when I greeted a child, the pitch of my voice changed. It got higher. And when I met women, it got very,
Very
white.
horny.
Very
Look at those
white.
big, fake left, fake right. Predator.
Exactly.
That's my favorite billboard they ever did. Big movies on the billboard, fake left, fake right. Oh, so good.
Oh, my goodness. Well, that's the thing. It was the way I designed it that way. I just felt it was
Because you
necessary.
cared, though, man, and I think that's probably why you're still doing it to this day. Is you give a damn about it, and you care, and you've always been a good person. You're always good to me and Tom. And before we run out of time, hey, thank you for doing this. We'll get you back in again because we are going to run out. We are out of time. actually.
I appreciate hanging with you guys, man. It's a lot of fun all the time.
We want to do it again, but
I'll text you, Alan. I appreciate it. Thanks for doing this. And man, I forgot how much fun. Because me and Alan I remember behind the scenes.
He's one of your only allies backstage, man.
Under the arena, we shoot the ass all the time.
Yeah.
Brothers in sweat.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Well, be well, man. We'll talk to you soon, okay?
Hey, take care, fellas.
All right, man. Be good. Oh my God, that's good.
Yeah.
I'm gonna give that one an award for the year.
Yeah.
And it's only April, March?
Yeah. I remember how mad Bushy was. He's like, he owns everything. He owns the name and the likeness.
And when you told me that, it made me love him so much more. I was like, this man's a smart man.
And he's like, we can't get rid of him because the audience likes him
They
so much.
love him.
He's like, we want to try to switch it out and
They tried to phase him out, but the listeners or the viewers of the games,
the fans were
where the hell's Klaw?
Yeah.
Get him out there.
All right, we will see you tomorrow.
Oh, that was great. Goddamn, Alan. Weren't we shooting for 20?
Yeah, that was good. And then now we'll just do.
He's great.
We'll do the second. We'll do the 14-minute Tuesday 4.
Okay.
Let me pee.
Yeah. This, I'm going to say at the 4-minute mark, it had cursing split. Okay. Yeah, that was a fun one. Okay, Ghost. Elder Scrolls Oblivion Remaster Shadow dropped today. Looks amazing, and I'm downloading it now on Game Pass. I already beat Avowed, so you didn't have enough injuries. You needed more injuries like I had to really push you into the gaming. I would be interested in that. I'm actually playing Assassin's Creed Shadows now, and I'm kind of enjoying it. I forget the name of the weapon. It's the weapon where you swing it, and then you have the pickaxe that you can drive into people's heads. That thing, I'm really good with it, and I can kill just about anybody in the game. Like, just by whipping it, backing up, whipping it, backing up, chop, chop, chop. How far is she in Shadows, Norm? Baldur's Gate was good, but I will say Baldur's Gate, I got stuck on a part. I was talking to Brendan O'Connor about that, and it frustrated me so bad because I couldn't beat it, and I would have to start the game over, and I said, nope. That happened to Indiana Jones, too. I got to a point where I was going to have to start the game over, and that's where kids have rubbed off on me. I didn't have enough frustration to go back and do it. I said, I'm out. That's sad. Old Dan would have fucking not done that, I bet. All right, buddy. 14 minutes. Do some voicemails and some emails.
Yep.
No, take your time. We're good. She's level 9, not too far. Yeah, I'm like a 25 or something. I just do a little bit when I get home, waiting for Moo to get out of dance. I'll put like a half an hour or so in there, run over to some castle, chop some samurai in the head. Oh, Jay did it. All right. Would you like to begin, sir, or bring us back, please?
Sure.
Here we go. 3, 2.
Welcome back to A Corporate Time. So I saw WrestleMania was on Saturday.
Glad you brought that up. Mixed opinions, I would say, just from my perspective of I have a lot of wrestling fans.
Yeah.
That like friends or wrestling fan friends, I should say. Most people are saying that they are upset with Triple H for giving John Cena the 17-time world championship record, breaking Ric Flair's championship record, and now they're making Cena the GOAT.
Okay.
Well, they did, rather.
I saw John Cena in an interview, and he was mad at people for making fun of his hair transplant. I don't know if...
Is that real?
I have no idea. Now, it's hard because when I'm scrolling TikTok videos, I see something, and then I consume it, and then I keep going, and then I'm like, wait, is that real? Or
Ghost
is that
of Manu
AI?
Bull, can you call in? If you have the ability to call in, it would really help us out. He's going to explain it to us a little bit. I forgot that Ghost is into wrestling, and we talk about it sometimes. He says it's more about how they did it. He says his heel turn has been, quote, abysmal, and he is calling in.
Okay.
See, I thought, like from what I observed, I thought people liked his heel turn. So we need somebody on the line that is a current wrestling fan. I was going to try and hit up our friend Mike Aiello, but he's way too busy.
The only clip I saw from WrestleMania is the fan trying to walk backwards up the escalator, and he got all the way to the top, and then he couldn't make it, and he started throwing his stuff, and then like he made one last push, and then he had to ride it all the way back down. And that was the only really that and Stone Cold crashing his four-wheeler into
that was a nothing.
It wasn't barely even.
I'm kind of sick of people that are making things that aren't things.
He barely. I mean, just he did kind of crash into it, but it wasn't fast. And then he just got off it. And it wasn't a major crash or anything that was egregious. It was just like.
Yeah, he just hit it. And
he hit it, and then
what I saw, he hit it, and then he walked over, and he's like, "You all right?" And then he walked back into the thing.
Yeah.
Okay, hold on. Here's Ghost of Manu. Boom. Oh, wrong button. Ghost, can you hear us?
I hear you.
Okay, great. Hold on, real quick. Tom wants to see this fat guy have to go down the escalator. So I want to let Tom watch this guy.
What was the reason for this?
Okay,
Oh,
so
he's almost there. Oh, he tripped.
oh, he dropped all of his stuff.
Yeah. Then he takes something, he throws it as if
And
holding
he's
the
like,
T-shirt.
hold this. The T-shirt's slowing me down.
And then he can't make it.
And then he's gassed.
Yeah.
And then he has to let the other skinny guys run past him, which is bad. Which is bad. Oh, okay. All right, let me get that out of here.
You know, when you don't work out that much, and you know, a lot of times you forget that you're not in good shape.
yeah, you lose reality.
yeah. You're like, I could have done this
Yeah.
20 years ago.
Yeah, grandpas do this a lot. You know the grandpa that goes down the slip and slide and knocks himself out?
Yeah,
he does it.
yeah.
He does it a little bit.
So, Ghost, tell us what happened in WrestleMania.
So as far as the main event goes, it was kind of lackluster. The match itself, you could tell Cena had lost a step. And the way they framed his initial heel turn, it was about 2 months ago. He aligned himself with The Rock, and the whole thing was he's going to be The Rock's lackey. And then you do this whole WrestleMania build. The Rock's not even there. The Rock doesn't make an appearance at WrestleMania. The Rock doesn't even come into the equation. Instead, they have Travis Scott come out. Travis Scott takes 45 minutes to come down the ramp to do a run-in. It kills the entire momentum of the show, and it's just a mess. So the issue is not with Cena winning the 17th world title, because as far as the story goes, that's going to be how you need to progress this heel turn. So he has this redemption arc that comes back around. It's just this particular match, how it's done, has been just crap.
Hold on. So Travis Scott, the
rapper that killed
rapper.
people in Houston.
Well,
That's what I refer to him as. I call him the rapper that murdered people in Houston, Travis Scott.
It was his crowd that killed the people.
Okay, I'll correct it. The rapper whose crowd killed people in Houston, Travis Scott.
Correct.
And so he took 45 minutes. Like, what was he like?
And actually,
I'm exaggerating. He just took a long time walking down the ramp to do a run-in. So you're supposed to suspend your disbelief in watching wrestling, and you understand that the guy in the ring is going to lay there and sell it that he got knocked out. But when this other guy is taking forever to come down the ramp, you go, okay.
Was it because he was, like, getting too much adulation from the crowd, and he didn't understand that when a wrestler runs in, you're supposed to haul ass because you know this guy's only got limited amount of pretend knockout juice in his brain?
I think he was just ego-stroking himself.
Yeah, that's what I think, too.
And kind of preened.
It seems kind of an odd fit. Do the wrestling audience know Travis Scott?
Young people. And
well, they're definitely trying to skew younger these days. There's a lot of streamers and YouTubers that'll pop up on the shows, and I'm an old man too. I have no idea who these people are, but they get a reaction, and I kind of equate it back to when they brought Bad Bunny in. I had no idea who Bad Bunny is, but when you watch that pay-per-view that emanated from Puerto Rico, the roof went off the place when he came out. The young kids are all about him, and I'm like, I don't know who this guy is, but he's getting a reaction. So.
Gotcha, yeah, because they're trying to just bring
and they're
in younger
throwing
audience.
everything at the wall. Lately, you've got
the Paul brothers.
You got Schultz, the comedian. What's his name? And then you got Bert Kreischer's been doing WWE lately.
Oh yeah, I saw Kreischer.
They had
Andrew
Tony
Schultz.
Hinchcliffe did the roast of WrestleMania this weekend.
Yeah, Tony Hinchcliffe. They're literally taking anything they think is popular, buying it, and then saying like, "You're WrestleMania now." Smart.
Right.
It's
Yeah,
smart.
yeah.
It's what you do. Well, cool. Thank you for setting us straight, man.
One more thing before I go. If you haven't seen it, Stone Cold drove his ATV down to the ring, and he rammed the barricade, and an old fat granny fell over.
Okay, yeah, I
we
can't
saw
find the
that.
granny video, but
Yeah, we
okay.
saw when he kind of didn't even ram it that hard. And he's been riding four-wheelers out for a while now. Although I was kind of disappointed he wasn't on like a more hunting style four-wheeler.
No, he was
you know?
on like some
a sport quad.
Also, it was funny.
It was like
that
a
he
Yamaha 700.
He didn't appear to know how to turn it off and on for a split second, for a little bit. I mean, maybe it's not the brand he rides. I don't want to call him into question, but he did wiggle the key like I would, with limited four-wheeler experience.
He was trying to figure out.
If you watch the end of that segment, you see the president of TKO run over to the barricade, and I'm assuming he's begging that lady not to sue.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. It's like, we'll give you anything.
Yeah. And she's like, yeah, like everything.
Now, because I didn't see too many like absurd clips come out, because that's usually what I expect to see on TikTok, and I saw like really the more viral clip was the guy running up the escalator. And then maybe Stone Cold bumping his four-wheeler. But other than that, I didn't see any like real absurdity that I'm used to with wrestling. And I wonder if that has anything to do with Vince McMahon not being a part of this anymore. Because they used to do some ridiculous stunts, like over the top things.
I mean, maybe they're trying, but what if it's all been done, right?
Or just because of there's
It's
so
like
much
Kanye.
absurdity.
It's like Kanye's wife being naked and he's wearing a black Ku Klux Klan outfit. It's like, I look at that, I'm just like, oh, okay.
Yeah, the thing he said about his
It's
cousin,
definitely
I
part
was
of
like,
it.
whoa.
Yeah. What'd you think about what Kanye West said about what he did with his cousin until he was 14 years of age?
Oh, I don't know.
Go look it up.
I can't think of a funny joke. to say.
Okay. We'll get you at it. Bye.
But no,
Do you need to talk to us? Okay.
Anything absurd?
Oh, wait. No, I think most of the absurdity has been steadily tapered off since the late 90s into the early 2000s. And right now, you've got Triple H running the main roster and Shawn Michaels running the developmental. And those two guys are very performance-focused. So you're getting incredibly good quality matches and not so much absurd over-the-top crash TV.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
you like the weirdo stuff. They're like, look at the way he put on that arm bar.
I mean,
Yeah.
I don't.
Look how he's selling that drop kick.
I don't consume wrestling, but when I see when Vince McMahon's daughter gets married, and during her wedding ceremony, like they all start fighting.
Oh yeah, they rip her panties off. Yeah, that's what I like.
It's just like
I like when the only thing
25 years ago.
Yeah,
I know, that's what I like.
I like it when the person she's marrying takes his mask off. It was a Nazi the whole time. The only way to handle this is with a bra and panties match. Let's go. Ding, ding, ding.
I like the 90s, early 2000s, super sexist.
Yeah, I like it when the black wrestlers would occasionally yell the N-word.
Yeah.
And then they couldn't beep it out because there was no such thing as a beep invented.
Yeah. You were allowed to say it as long as you were black.
All right, buddy. Hey,
all right.
Ghost, thank you, man. We appreciate the help.
All right, love you guys.
Love you too,
Yeah.
buddy. I could hear him typing, and I think his boss walked in.
Yeah.
Get our friends fired.
So, I mean, what do you think the ratings were on WrestleMania? I know
It's just like any other corporation. They're going to say it's the biggest they've ever done.
well,
There's
yeah,
no such
yeah.
thing. Like, do you honestly think that today they're going to be like, WrestleMania, 2 nights, it was a Saturday, Sunday. Sorry,
Yeah,
it
no,
was
I
like
know.
14% lower than last year.
But let's say, I know that they're gonna just claim is the best it's ever been, but
just like
it's-
radio stations.
It's got to be continually going down, right? Or is it maintaining a steady pace?
think
It's just there's so much.
It might maintain because wrestling is, and globally, I do think they are tapping into the Middle Eastern market. I will give them that. I think that when they do some of the, like, what did they did, like a Jewel of the Nile or something, they did like a purely a Middle Eastern thing a couple of years ago, and they've done that a couple times. Then I think they try to go into like Canada, and I think it's huge. I think they're trying to get South America. It's huge. So I think they know that here, we have what is it, TNA? The Hardy Boys just went there last week. We have, what is it, AEW? So we have competition around here.
Do you think it's much like other sports where, because I'm wondering, my sons have never been into it, and
Do you like that or hate that?
Well,
I had bet that they would be into it, but they're not hillbilly enough like I was.
Well, it's probably because I'm not into it. And it's just like,
my dad was into it.
But they will be into like NFL football only because I'm into it.
Well, they'll know about it, even if they're not into it. They'll know about it.
So because I've exposed them so much to NFL football, that now Tommy's like, oh, like anytime it's football season, like, oh, football tonight, like it now that's nurture, like 100%. And I think because. So same thing with baseball. Like usually you're into baseball because your dad watched baseball.
Maisie wore a Braves jersey to school today.
And so much like that, I feel like you get into wrestling because your dad got into wrestling.
That's why I got into it.
And I wonder if that is hindering wrestling because your parents.
Most dads are gay now.
No,
they're not into. I'm joking around.
I'm just like it just slowly is tapering off, and like, do kids get into it without their parents? Like, do they just randomly get into it?
They could through the video game aspect of it. That 2K, that wrestling 2K, whatever, with Roman Reigns on the cover. I see that everywhere. I know that game is huge.
Yeah.
I thought the gaming aspect. There were certain wrestlers like. like Big E and Kofi Kingston and the guys from Xavier Woods that are kind of younger and hip and black guys that are into gaming, and I thought that would maybe pull some younger people in or something. I don't know.
I mean, I
don't
mean,
know.
obviously the Paul brothers, and you think, like they getting social media influencers would influence, that younger audience to get into it, but I don't know. It's hard because I'm removed from it, so I have no idea the popularity of it.
Also,
if it's waning or if it's just as good as ever.
And I think you'll agree with this, but I don't know. Maybe you will. But I think it would be very difficult for you, even if you were like kind of gravitated towards it, because in your mind, it's not a true competition.
Yeah.
Right?
I
that's
never
not something like you don't even like video games where they're open-ended. Like this is kind of open-ended because it's a predetermined performance.
Yeah.
I don't see you.
I respect it, but I just never.
Right.
I never followed
It's
it. Didn't
athletic, you
care.
respect it, but it's not something you would want to follow for stats because what is it?
I was entertained by the absurdity of 25 years ago and how crazy it got and the storylines and ridiculous.
And true wrestling fans sometimes look at that as distraction, unfortunately.
Yeah. I think that's the funny part to me. The comedy of it I liked, but other than that, like the storylines and stuff, it just never. It was a nothing. It's a nonsense. To me,
right?
Because
I know.
And to most probably non-wrestler fans, they just they never even probably realized the WrestleMania was over the weekend.
But it was better when it was sold. It was just honestly better when we knew it was fake, but it was sold as real instead of what it is now.
Yeah.
Because my dad knew it was fake. He wasn't a moron, and so did I. But you just didn't speak about it. You kind of let it be, and it was better.
Like even my sons have seen it on like the internet or whatever, even when they 5 years ago when they were young, they recognized it was fake. They watched it and there was nothing about it that they were like, oh, there's really fighting.
I think
because they've seen real fighting.
Young boys,
clips.
Young men's introduction to wrestling now is different than the way we were introduced to it. When I was introduced to it, there's no way to figure out whether this was real or not.
Yeah, there's no
it was
MMA.
freaking awesome.
Yeah. There was no MMA, so you didn't really see two grown men fight for real. So you didn't know what was real or
and
what
you know
was
what's weird? The first time I saw MMA, I remember this. I was at my buddy Will Watford. You've met Will. I was at his house. His dad got it. And we were like, oh, we're going to cook. And we watched it, and we all agreed. We're like, this is too far. We were like, whoa.
It's not
we were like, whoa, that guy's hurt. It was weird. It was a weird feeling. I was like, I can't eat my hot dog.
I like it when they stomp the ground and punch. All right. We'll see you tomorrow.
History Center afterwards?
Yeah, we'll just do basically Tuesday 1 and 2 after.
Okay. All right, y'all. Hey, have a great lunch. And we will see you guys a little bit before. Oh, Christine, I forgot to answer you on that. I will gladly check that out. I did not know they were doing that. That sounds very